Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name's DJ Paris. I'm your guide and host through the show. Today is a very special announcement. We have a new partnership with a very special guest of ours who has been on our show and did such an amazing job that we begged and pleaded with her to continue to do more episodes for us because what she has and what she's done in her career and what she's learned, she is now teaching to agents all over the country. And what she is teaching, I don't think very many agents even know about or have participated in. They've probably ignored, and that is YouTube. So we're going to talk a little bit today about why YouTube is an amazing platform that you shouldn't ignore when you are thinking about your overall social media strategy. And maybe it isn't even social media the way that you should think about YouTube, like you might with Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. It's not really the right frame of mind, I guess, for YouTube. But we're going to talk about what YouTube is, why you should consider it, and why Sarah Maslowski is going to be teaching you every single month. So before I bring her on, Sarah Maslowski is an unbelievably top 1% agent in the metro Atlanta area of Georgia. She is an incredible agent, and she basically gets 85% or so of her business from YouTube. Now that's incredible. She would not consider herself an influencer. She's not like a personality per se that that you would think. This is just a realtor who has built this unbelievable channel called Moving to Georgia. You guys should absolutely check it. We will have a link to that in the show notes, and she is going to show you how you can replicate that success. And she's awesome, and we're so excited to partner with her and have her on once a month. Sarah, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you for that great warm introduction. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm so excited to share with agents and teach them exactly what I learned how to do and replicate that in their own business. Because hands down, when it comes to any type of social media platform, YouTube is the number one lead source and the highest converting lead source for agents. So if you're going to put any effort into social media, I'm a strong proponent in going really hard into YouTube first. And get that machine going before you look at any other lead gen source when it comes to social media.
Yeah, let's make the quick case for YouTube. And it's a pretty easy case to make, but it's one that's often overlooked by agents because agents tend to think in terms of trends. So trending content, which would more likely be on places like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, maybe even LinkedIn. But that's where people go to see current sort of shorter form video. Well, YouTube has that as well, but specifically it's where people go to scroll, we'll call it.
Yes.
And YouTube is where people go to search. And so there's a difference. And the reason why we're going to be talking about YouTube specifically is because the content that you create on YouTube can live a much longer life. And it's not necessarily disposable, which Instagram and TikTok tend to be with content. It can be discoverable. It can be searched for. Think about the last time you searched on Instagram or TikTok. I bet you haven't in a long time, maybe never. I don't think I've ever searched on those platforms, but YouTube is the second biggest search engine online next to Google. So if knowing that, we now can think about creating content that people might actually search for. And that is how Sarah built her channel. And this is amazing because some of the content she's created, continues to generate leads for her that maybe she even created years ago. So think about the last time you created a YouTube, maybe you created an Instagram video, and do you think 2 years from now it's going to generate any sort of business for you? It's unlikely, right? Because the Instagram and TikTok feeds on what's most current, what's most new, and it really doesn't prioritize older content. Whereas YouTube prioritizes the best content. So it doesn't really care what's new. It cares what's best served for the search, the searcher. So if you think about YouTube is really no different than Google, right? Google's whole business plan is to serve you up the very best search results when you need a question answered. Well, YouTube is kind of the same thing. You could scroll through YouTube like people do on Instagram or TikTok, but it's not really how people utilize it. So yeah, Sarah, tell us a little bit more about why did you choose YouTube?
Yeah, everything that you said, very spot on. The life cycle of a YouTube video lasts years and years and years, whereas Instagram, TikTok, it's of the moment. You have to keep putting out content every single day to stay in front of the right audiences. So back in 2019, 2020, I was trying to figure out how to incorporate video into my business. Back then, Instagram videos, reels weren't a thing, neither was TikTok. And so, really, the only platforms that were out there for video was Facebook and YouTube. Like many other agents, I was trying to figure this out. I was making listing videos, posting those on YouTube, Facebook, making, tip videos of how to get your house ready for sale. And those videos were going nowhere. And I was very, very frustrated. So I came across a group of other real estate agents that were having success on YouTube. And I was wanted to know the secret. I wanted to know the magic. Like, why were they having success and I wasn't? And when I went and looked at their YouTube pages, I saw they were making videos about what it was like living in their town. How much did it cost to live there? Why would someone choose to live in this town versus another nearby town? They didn't have any listing videos on their page. There wasn't a video on how to save money on property taxes. These are all things that I've made on my channel before. And so it was really like a light bulb moment for me. It made me realize, like, oh, you're making videos for what people are actually searching. And people that have never been to your town, maybe they're getting a job relocation or they're thinking about moving, and they're seeking out a better place when it comes to weather, and they're doing that research online. Well, if you're making that content, you're one of the very few agents that are going to show up providing that actual information that's very, very valuable to them. So I made that switch in the fall of 2020, and within 6-8 weeks, got my very first lead from that video. And those were bad videos. I've since learned a lot since then. And so I'm really passionate about, teaching other agents how to do this exact thing so that they can get more inbound business. But it has been a game changer for me and my business and how I do things.
I also love the fact that I just think it's inherently more helpful to create content on YouTube because what YouTube rewards is helpful content. So when people are searching for answers for things like I want to move to X, I was just in Calgary and Montreal, and of course I went to YouTube. I said, find the best things to do in Calgary and Montreal. I'd been to Montreal before, so I didn't really need much help there. But Calgary, I'd never been to, and then we were going up to Banff, and I was like, okay, what do I need to know about Banff? And I went to YouTube because I wanted to see the visuals of the specific to dos and restaurants and all of the attractions. And it was incredibly helpful. I do that every time I go on a vacation. And when I was moving just recently, I moved in the last month, and I also did the same thing. Even though I've lived here 25 years, I moved to a new neighborhood, and I did also select, like, I had to find new cleaners. I had to find new, just some new other service people, and just kind of learn like the restaurants in the area as well. And I was looking for like best restaurants in, now I live in Roscoe Village. So I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I started going on YouTube and looking for those neighborhood guide videos, which are really helpful. And that is, kind of what we're talking about, is thinking about when people do need to move or want to move into a particular area, they are going to search online. Of course, they're going to go to Zillow. They're going to do web searching. They're also going to go to YouTube, and they're going to search for videos around particular topics that they want to see videos for. And as Sarah was saying, you can make content around those videos. And it's so much different than we traditionally think about what social media content is. Again, back to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, which can be helpful, can be absolutely the same kind of content we're talking about, but typically is more of a, hey, look at me kind of content, right? It's a little bit more, let me showcase who I am. And one thing I know about Sarah, that is not really your personality so much. You are not somebody who is as interested in talking about Sarah as she is in answering questions and being helpful to people. So I think just there's a really strong use case for this, where you're not just saying, hey, look at how cool I am and how all these great homes I've sold. You're actually saying, hey, let me help you with information you need. And if you want to do the I'm a cool realtor stuff, you can certainly do that on those other platforms and have a lot of success there. I think most people are more interested in helpful content, or at least I think that's a great place where agents are typically not putting a lot of energy. They try to, do cool things on those other platforms. And I think just creating great content, because Sarah, you are not traditionally media trained, correct?
That's right. Yeah. I am someone who still hates to hear my voice on camera. I don't enjoy watching videos back. I think it's a huge myth that whenever we see other agents or people be successful on social media that they just naturally feel comfortable with it and they don't mind doing it. I don't know of any agent that's successful on social media that just feels like, they're amazing at it. So one of the things that gave me a lot of confidence or inspiration rather is when I first got started, I saw some of these other agents that were being successful and they were not great on video. If I was looking at it objectively, I was thinking like, oh gosh, they're a little bit boring to watch. But it proved the point that this works for everybody.
Mhm.
And that if you show up, if you provide the information, if you're being very helpful, people will connect with that and they're going to see the value in it. And that is really the magic of what makes this lead gen method so great is that all you're doing is just providing value, 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 reminding them that you're a real estate agent and saying, hey, if you're thinking about making a move here, I want to work with you. Here's how to contact me. And the magic is that when those people actually reach out, they're calling you. You're not having to track down someone, call them 10, 12 times, leave voicemail, text messages to get them to call you back. They're excited to talk with you. And they say crazy things like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting a chance to talk with you. And they're treating you as if you're a celebrity. And that's just a wild and crazy thing that has taken a while to kind of get used to or get over. But you're not having to convert them. They're now just simply moving into, okay, here's what we're thinking about. Here's when we're moving. And then you go right into that buyer consult and, getting that agency agreement signed. It's unlike any other lead source where you're not having to track them down. They're actually tracking you down, which is the magic.
I also know too, another thing about your personality is you are not somebody that is often telling people, "Come work with me. I want to work with you." Doing that sort of pitch. You are more about, "Let me give you value," and then, "Oh, by the way, I'm a realtor," and people will reach out to you and do reach out to you based on the information you're giving them to solve their problems. And I think that that is so important that people miss often in creating content, video content is solve problems for people, and then you will be seen as a knowledge source, and then hopefully they will choose to use you in the future. And I was thinking about YouTube this morning because when we think about social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, those have all changed as far as popularity over the years. I don't know if YouTube's waning in popularity. I don't think so, because I realized this morning they don't really have a competitor for long form content. I guess maybe short form content, TikTok's their competitor, Instagram's their competitor in that sense. But for actual searchable content, they don't, to my knowledge. I mean, Vimeo maybe, but they're like 1% of the market. YouTube has probably 99%. So it's an incredible platform that doesn't seem to be going away and doesn't seem to be waning in popularity, which is crazy if you think about it. Even Facebook's numbers are down, right? Instagram eventually won't be the thing people go to. TikTok won't even be the thing people will go to. Eventually, something better will come out. But YouTube has endured and it doesn't seem to be shifting. And so if I were to sort of put my eggs in one basket, which you probably shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, but YouTube's probably the best bet because it's sort of endured, and it is pretty shocking they don't really have a competitor. So that's another great reason to consider it. Is that, and the other thing too is when people go on social media diets, they don't delete YouTube. They delete Instagram, they delete TikTok, they delete Facebook, right? People do that. And right now, more than ever, people are really starting to, reconsider their social media usage. I've never heard anybody say I need to delete YouTube. Now, maybe people do, but certainly at a smaller percentage. So even for those people that are like, social media is toxic, I want to get off it, they're probably not looking at YouTube in the same way. So again, it just has this staying power that your videos will live indefinitely. And
Yeah.
ultimately, you get feedback on how well they're doing because they're either answering questions or giving people what they want. And you get instant feedback basically just looking at the view count. And Sarah's going to teach you exactly how she built her channel. And again, she did not even necessarily want to create this big massive following. It just happened through consistency, and she has just done incredibly well, and almost all of her business now comes from YouTube, which is incredible. Tell us about just like the first few videos you made. Tell us about, like, because many people will think, I don't have great production equipment. I don't have a crew. I don't have, really much in the way of editing ability or graphic. I don't know how to, make a
Yeah.
great thumbnail. So walk us through, like, was that you as well?
Yeah, great questions. And so I had that same fear getting into making YouTube videos because, I am not very technically advanced or have any great skills when it comes to that. But when I saw what these other agents were doing and asked them, okay, what camera do I need? What microphone do I need? The great thing is that like 90% of them were filming videos on their iPhone. And I was like, okay, that's great because I already have that. I don't have to go out and spend, hundreds of dollars on a camera. I just need a tripod. I need a ring light. And that's really all you need to get started. You do need a good microphone. And so those are very inexpensive that you can get on Amazon. So the entry cost to this is incredibly low. Now, the one thing that you are going to want to do is you're going to want to leverage out and hire an editor. Um, that is pretty much a lesson that I learned right away. I was trying to edit my own videos. And one, I learned I'm terrible at this. Two, it was taking way too much time. I was up late at night trying to get my edits done because I needed to push out a video the next day. And it just wasn't sustainable. At the end of the day, you're a real estate agent, you're running a real estate business. That's what's bringing in your bread and butter. And so that is leveraging out the editing piece is the one, thing that I would say is a non-negotiable that you have to go into this knowing that you're going to do that. There's lots of resources for great editors out there. And in fact, it's even become more prevalent, 5 years into this, there's editors everywhere that you can work with. So those first videos that I did though, they were bad. I was just kind of filming up against a wall of my house. It didn't look anything like this kind of nicer backdrop that I have today. Up until like a year ago, I was still filming all my videos on an iPhone. So there's little things that you learn along the way to make things better. And I'm excited to share with all of you some of those things so that I can shorten that time span for you and let you learn from my mistakes. But the lessons that those first videos taught me is that even with bad editing, with bad lighting, a terrible backdrop, it's that doesn't matter to the consumer, to the person that's watching your video. They care about if you're showing up and if you're giving them valuable information, because it was those first bad 6 videos that led to that very first phone call of someone saying, hey, we found you on YouTube. And that was just, I'll never forget that moment of that very first phone call. But those were the bad videos that I edited myself. And you just have to start where you can. And so many of us fall into this trap of, oh, I'll get started when I have X, Y, and Z, when I have this ready, when I have this perfect setup, and it's never going to happen. And so you just have to start where you can and improve along the way. And, through my tips and tricks and information that I'm going to share, I'm going to help you, again, shorten that time frame window so that you can jump in a little bit ahead of the game.
Yeah, I think that's all really great advice. And you're going to be coming on monthly to help agents sort of get acclimated with YouTube, get comfortable. This is probably a something you haven't yet really put energy into. We know how to post on Instagram, and maybe we know how to post on TikTok. Certainly we know how to post on Facebook, but we probably haven't. We might think of YouTube as this bigger lift, and it really doesn't necessarily have to be, but you do have to think about it a bit differently as far as content, editing, and sort of objective. But the cool part is it is really there's untapped potential there. And all of the most I've had a lot of agents on the show who generate their business through YouTube, Sarah being obviously one of them. And it's incredible. Some of them have literally stepped out of production because they have so many leads that now they just become a content creator and continue to create this long form content and then just pass business over to other agents because they're literally too busy to even go out and do showings and work with listings.
Yeah.
Again,
DJ, I want to share one thing that has recently came on my radar that was not a thing a year ago, and definitely not 5 years ago when I first started making YouTube videos. And that is the introduction of AI into our life every single
yeah,
day. And showing up in AI search results is becoming such an important thing. And video, specifically YouTube, is one of the biggest places that whenever AI goes to search for information, they're crawling YouTube videos, and they're crawling those transcripts to come back with results for the person that's asking that question. And they're crawling those YouTube videos. And so it's almost like a great side benefit that not only are you showing up on YouTube, but you're feeding the AI search engines with your content as well, so that you have multiple places that you can show up. Not even if someone doesn't ever go to YouTube to see that video, you still have an opportunity to show up, and that's just such a powerful thing that's not happening with your 30-second Instagram videos or
Right.
TikToks. And so it's just doing so much heavy lifting for you by just making one video a week.
That's really funny you mentioned that. I do a lot of searching with Claude. I use Claude as well as OpenAI, ChatGPT, and even Gemini a bit. And I ask it a lot of questions. And you're right, it does source YouTube often. I don't think it has ever sourced a Instagram video, and maybe it does, and I just haven't seen it. But you're right. I have tons of YouTube sources because what's great is I can click directly on if it's giving me an answer and I'm like, can you find me a video specifically about this? So it's funny. I now even use AI to search for YouTube content, but
Hmm.
you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't see. I'm sure it could be on there maybe, but I don't really see social media content being pushed into AI. I guess you could ask specifically for social media content. Maybe it would, but really it's not kind of the go-to. And so you're absolutely right. That is a really, really smart idea. And people are going to continue to search more and more that way. So yeah, having YouTube as a certainly a searchable index for library for your content is awesome. I want to ask you, and maybe you don't know this, so maybe just estimate if you can you think of the video that is created, and you don't have to share the video itself, but has there been a video that's created like the most number of leads? And I'm curious if you happen to know which one has actually generated the most business for you, or are they all kind of generating business?
Yeah, I love this question because it speaks directly to how powerful YouTube is. And so the magic with YouTube is it's not going to be one video that brings in
Right.
leads. The behavior of someone that is researching this information, if you're doing your job correctly and providing a lot of good, valuable information, they're not just watching one of your videos. They are binge watching 8 to 10 videos before they ever reach out to you. And so it's really hard to tell, what specific video, because you're not just getting lead phone calls off of one video. The goal is to provide them a robust amount of content that they can binge, that you become the expert because you've got all these videos. It's part of the reason why success on YouTube, on average, it takes about 3 months to get your first lead, because YouTube then has 12 videos that they can serve that person, and someone's watching a couple of videos before they reach out and talk to you. And so it's just so powerful because you're able to link videos together within
Hmm.
YouTube, so that at the end of watching one video, if they want more information about that town, it's just rolling right into the very next video. And so before you know it, someone spent 45 minutes watching your content, which
Yeah,
is
and
which is
YouTube
very
does that kind
powerful.
of for you. Whereas if you go on Instagram and you find a video, you're scrolling, you're not searching, you're scrolling, you find something you like. When you go to that next video, it's not necessarily that same content creator, could be, but it's unlikely unless you went to that person's particular page and started looking through all their videos, right? But YouTube knows that if you're watching a particular content creator and you're staying on with that particular video all the way to the end, there's a good chance that you're going to like the next thing they do, or a previous piece of content they've created. So what it's going to do is more than likely give you more of that person. So you're actually going to get it reinforces itself a lot better than I think traditional social media, which is more about variety. There's so much, like it'll show you a really cool video, you'll like it, then it wants to show you another cool video. Well, it's unlikely that's going to be the same content creator in a row. But you're right, you're getting a lot of repeat sort of brand recognition through, and your content is going to keep getting stirred up. And what I love about YouTube is it really does continue to figures out through your viewing patterns what content creators you like, and you don't even have to subscribe to their channels necessarily,
Right.
because it'll just keep serving it up, because it watches everything you watch and it knows. So, it's like, oh, I don't have many subscribers. Well, it doesn't really matter as long as people are watching your content, because YouTube sees that they're watching your content. They're going, well, it's basically a subscriber, without actually hitting the subscribe button, and they're going to keep serving that content up whenever it's new.
Yeah, I love that point. When I first got started, I was obsessed with watching my subscriber and view count on my videos. And I was very frustrated that my subscriber count wasn't going up at the rate of maybe some other agents in other parts of the country that were starting their YouTube journey at the same point that I was. And it's really important to know that those metrics don't really matter. The only metric that matters is, are you getting phone calls? Are people reaching out to you after watching your videos? Because at the end of the day, we're not influencers, we're not content creators, we're real estate agents that need to be closing actual deals. And so sometimes it's even hard for me to kind of keep my blinders on and head down and just focus on, are the leads coming in? Because the views, the subscribers, they'll eventually crawl up, and that'll just naturally occur. But we really need to make sure that we're focusing on providing good quality content that's actually leading to people calling us saying like, hey, we want to work with you. And that is what's important.
And you're not doing direct outreach to people and trying to earn their business through instant messaging, through following them, commenting. I mean, certainly if they have a YouTube channel, I guess you could do that as well. But you're really just about, let me just provide value. Let me just give, 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 give. And then hopefully people start reaching back out. And that's what happens. It's remarkable. I imagine when you got your first YouTube lead, it must have blown your mind.
Yes, 100%. I was the agent that went through the hustle and grind of building my business. I did the open houses. I called expireds. I door knocked. I did all the things to generate business when I had to, because I didn't have a strong database from where we weren't local to the area when I got into real estate. And so to have a business now where I don't have to do any of that, and all I have to do is work my database and wait for my phone to ring, is such an amazing, freeing way to do real estate. And it's something that I want for everyone. I want everyone to be able to experience this in their business, where you have people calling you and not where you're having to track them down and chase them.
I love that. So Sarah's going to be coming on every month. It's called the YouTube Lab, and it's going to be part of Keeping It Real. And not only is she going to be doing these videos to teach you how to become successful on YouTube and generate leads, she also teaches it outside of our episodes. And so she's going to be talking about special classes that she'll be offering, and courses. And she is now taking this sort of into a teaching position and showing other agents exactly how to do that. And we are so lucky to have her come on and give us some tips for our audience. So she will be coming on starting next month, or starting in February. And we are really so excited, Sarah. And this is a big thing for us. We've never really pushed YouTube. We've had people on talking about Instagram over the years, and that's great. And I just wanted to do something a little different that I know can be really successful, and something that would push agents in a direction that they're not used to being pushed. And I really think you should consider that this year. There's just, number one, in a weird way, there's less competition for
Yeah.
your local market on YouTube, possibly, than there is on Instagram. TikTok, I'm not sure. So I actually think you have more of a real chance to generate traffic and leads through YouTube. And again, it's passive. You are not out there soliciting business necessarily, right? Maybe you'll mention that you are a realtor, but you're not out there directly, trying to get business. You are trying to help people solve problems. And by doing that, which is what realtors do, that will inherently give you business. So how cool is that, right? So let's just get excited. Sarah, thank you for
Thank you.
coming on. I could not be more grateful for you. And I just love the fact that you are so successful at this and so willing to teach our audience. So thank you on behalf of the audience. Thank you. And on behalf of Sarah and myself, thank our audience. We appreciate you so much. We've been doing this 7 years. Thank our sponsors. Thank people, the great people like Sarah, for coming on and helping us make the show even better. And as best way you can help us is by telling a friend about this episode. Please tell another agent in your office. Everybody needs to be considering YouTube, and Sarah's the right teacher for that. So she's going to be coming on monthly. We do other episodes too. We had Sarah on before as a top 1% producer talking about how she built her business on YouTube. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. You really want to hear her story. It's amazing. And also tell agents that we do this every week. So let them know about our episode. We're everywhere. So you just find us, search for Keeping It Real. Look for the one with my name, DJ Paris. There's a few other Keeping It Reals out there, but mine's this one. And please let them know about it. And we appreciate you. We will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Thank you.